My name is Han Ji-hoon. Once, I was a boy who had everything. My father owned one of the largest companies in Korea, a man admired and feared in equal measure. My mother, she was the gentlest soul, always smiling, always reminding me that no amount of wealth mattered if I forgot how to love. Together, they built an empire, and I was their only son. The world seemed like it belonged to me. I had no reason to fear tomorrow. But tomorrow came sooner than I thought. I was 16 when the plane went down. The news came like thunder. My parents were gone. Just like that. Their voices silenced forever. Their warmth stolen from me. I still remember standing in that cold hallway, staring at the faces of the so-called family, friends, and company workers who came to console me. They bowed. They spoke of loyalty, of standing with me. But their eyes gleamed with greed. Within weeks, everything changed. The same people my parents trusted turned their knives against me. They forged papers, seized the company, and locked me out of the world my parents had built. My home became a cage. I was no longer the son of the house. I was treated like a servant. Orders, insults, chores, humiliation. Every day was a reminder that the empire my father had bled for now belonged to thieves. I wanted to scream, to fight, but I was only a boy. And a boy has no power when surrounded by wolves. Eventually, they cast me out entirely. Homeless, penniless, with nothing but the clothes on my back. I slept on cold benches, beneath bridges, under the judgmental gaze of a city that had once respected my family name. And yet, what they never knew was that my father had prepared for betrayal. Long before his death, he had placed documents into the hands of his oldest friend, attorney Park Min-soo. He was the only man who still carried my family's truth. But I was too broken, too lost, to search for him then. I believed my life was over. Fate, however, is strange. It never abandons those who wait. One day, half-starved and desperate, I heard of a wealthy man in need of a cook, a mansion, a roof, a chance to survive. His name was Chairman Kang Dae-hyung. His wife had passed years before, and he lived with his 2 daughters. They needed someone to prepare their meals, and I needed to live. That is how the heir to a billion-dollar empire became a cook in a stranger's home. I told myself it was temporary, but days turned into months, months into years. I learned to cook with precision and care. I discovered joy in flavors, comfort in recipes. My hands, which once knew the softness of silk sheets, now knew the burn of hot pans and the scent of garlic and onion clinging to my skin. And yet, when the kitchen quieted, when the dishes were washed, I returned to my solitude. My only companions were the storybooks I carried with me, tales of heroes who fell and rose again, of orphans who found their destiny. In those pages, I could pretend I was not forgotten. Chairman Kang's daughters could not have been more different. The elder, Kang Soo-young, was beautiful, sharp, but her beauty hid venom. From the moment she laid eyes on me, she treated me as less than human. To her, I was a servant, a low-born nobody who dared to exist under the same roof. She gave me tasks beyond my duties, humiliations meant to break me, washing her clothes, scrubbing her shoes, even her undergarments. Every moment with her was a reminder of my fall. The younger, Kang Hae-jin, she was different, gentle, quiet, with eyes that seemed to see past the apron, past the lowly cook, into the boy I once was. She never said much, but her kindness spoke louder than words. She defended me when her sister insulted me. She smiled when no one else did. I pretended not to notice, but I did. Deep down, I did. For years, I lived like this, cooking by day, reading by night, hiding my truth. But then came the night that changed everything. I was in my small room, the one tucked away in the servants' quarters, reading under dim light. My storybook was open on my lap, and I was lost in the words when the door creaked open. Hae-jin stepped inside. She looked nervous, but determined. She sat on the edge of my bed and asked softly, "Ji-hoon, tell me about yourself." I froze. My heart pounded, but I couldn't tell her the truth. How could I? How could I reveal that I was the son of the man whose name was now erased from his own company? That I was once a prince, now reduced to washing dishes? So I lied. I told her I was just a poor man with no past worth remembering. She studied me for a long moment, then whispered, "I want to be your friend, your companion." I almost laughed. A companion? For me? I shook my head, refusing. I could not afford to let anything interfere with my job. If I lost this roof, I had nowhere else to go. But she didn't give up. She kept insisting, her eyes filled with something I had not seen in years, genuine care. And slowly, my walls began to crumble. Against my will, I let her in. From that night on, things changed. We shared secret conversations, quiet laughter, stolen moments that no one else knew of. Heijin became my light in the darkness, though I never admitted it out loud. But even as my heart began to awaken, Su-young's hatred grew sharper. She saw the closeness between her sister and me, and it fueled her cruelty. Every day, she sought new ways to remind me of my place. And I endured it, for Heijin's sake, for the roof over my head, for survival. I thought my life would remain this way forever. Silent love, endless work, and the comfort of storybooks. But destiny had other plans. The days passed quietly, each one resembling the last. I woke before dawn, tied my apron, and moved through the mansion like a shadow. I cooked, I cleaned, I bowed my head. To them, I was invisible. To myself, I was nothing. But one evening, everything began to change. Chairman Kang came home in anger. His footsteps echoed through the halls like thunder, and his voice roared with frustration. He shouted at his staff, accusing them of incompetence. Papers were scattered across the living room, table charts, graphs, figures I knew well, though I dared not speak. I lingered by the doorway, watching him pace. He muttered about a massive business deal worth millions. His employees couldn't even interpret the documents sent by a foreign company. His patience was gone. He slammed his fist against the table, declaring that his company would suffer because of fools. My heart pounded. My mind raced. Those symbols, those charts, I recognized them. My father had once taught me how to read such things, explaining late at night over his desk. I was only a boy then, but his words had carved themselves into my memory. For years, I had studied books and papers on business, quietly preparing for a future I never thought would come. And now, here it was, staring at me. But fear held me back. What right did I have, a cook in an apron, to stand in the middle of wealthy men and claim knowledge they didn't have? My hands trembled. My tongue stuck to the roof of my mouth. I told myself to stay silent, to remain invisible. Yet something inside me refused. I stepped forward. "Sir," I said quietly, "if you allow me, I may be able to help." The room went silent. All eyes turned to me. Chairman Kang's glare was sharp enough to pierce steel. "You?" he barked. "You're a cook. What do you know of business?" I lowered my gaze but did not retreat. "Please, just give me one chance. If I fail, I'll accept any punishment you choose, but let me try." He hesitated. Suspicion etched across his face. Behind him, Su-young sneered, folding her arms. "Father, don't waste your time. This servant is delusional." But Heijin, she watched me with quiet hope, her lips pressed together as if she wanted to defend me. Finally, with a frustrated sigh, Chairman Kang tossed the documents across the table. "Fine, show me." I stepped forward, my hands brushing the familiar weight of the papers. My eyes scanned the figures, and in moments, the fog lifted. I began to explain each symbol, each boundary, each financial strategy hidden in the charts. My voice grew steadier with every word. The more I spoke, the more alive I felt, as if my father's spirit guided me. The room watched in stunned silence. Even the guards leaned closer. I laid out the company's proposed deal, explained the risks, and pointed out the hidden benefits. I outlined strategies for negotiation that could secure them a massive profit. When I finished, silence hung heavy. Then, slowly, Chairman Kang's stern expression softened into something else, something like astonishment. He turned to his men. "Do as he says," he ordered. 2 weeks later, The deal closed. A contract worth $120 million was secured. For the first time in years, I saw pride in a man's eyes directed at me. Chairman Kong called me into his study that evening. He poured himself a glass of whiskey, studied me for a long time, and said, "You are no ordinary cook. From today, you are not only my chef, you are my personal assistant." My heart skipped, my throat tightened. The cook, the servant, the nobody, was suddenly a man entrusted with business worth millions. But joy was not shared by everyone. Su-young's eyes blazed with fury. To her, this was betrayal. How could her father elevate a servant above her trusted advisors? She swore silently that she would destroy me. Yet, in the quiet corners of the house, Heijin's eyes shone with something else: pride, admiration, perhaps even love. It was then that I realized I was no longer invisible. But being seen came with a price. I remember that night vividly. The night she came to my room, I was sitting on the edge of the small bed the servants were given, my storybook open in my hand. It was all I had my companion when loneliness grew too heavy. Then, a soft knock. Before I could answer, the door creaked open, and there she was, the younger daughter, her eyes soft, her hair loose around her shoulders. She stepped inside without a word and sat beside me. My heart raced, though I did not dare show it. She leaned close and peered at the book in my hands. "Always this book," she said, her voice gentle. "Do you hide yourself in it?" I tried to smile, tried to hide my trembling. "It keeps me company," I told her. "Then tell me," she whispered. "Tell me your story." For a moment, my throat closed. My story? How could I speak of the truth that I was the only son of a man who once ruled empires of hotels, factories, companies worth billions, that I had been robbed of everything, reduced to a cook in another man's house? No, I could not. So I lied. I told her I was the son of a fisherman who died at sea, that I had wandered from place to place until I found work here. She listened, her eyes never leaving mine. "I want to be your friend," she said at last, her hand brushing mine. But with honor came envy. Whispers followed me through the halls. How could the master raise a lowly cook above his trained men? How could a servant sit at the right hand of his employer? And worst of all, how could his daughter, his precious daughter, look at me with such affection? Jealousy is a beast that breeds cruelty. One day, the elder daughter, in her arrogance, lured me into her room. She smiled, pretended kindness, then suddenly shrieked, accusing me of forcing myself upon her. Guards rushed in, and in an instant I was dragged away, my cries lost in their fury. I was thrown into the cold stone of the police station, my heart pounding with despair. But fate had not abandoned me. For the younger daughter, the one who loved me, had recorded everything. Every lie, every deceit, she played it before her father, and the truth blazed brighter than any flame. The master himself came to the station, his face dark with anger not at me, but at his elder child. He ordered my release, and when he saw me again, he did not see a cook, nor a servant, but a man worthy of his trust. And it was then, in my darkest hour, that a man in a black suit appeared. He was no stranger, my father's lawyer, the one man who had remained faithful when all others betrayed me. With solemn eyes, he placed a leather folder in my hands. Inside were the documents proof beyond doubt that I was the rightful heir to my parents' empire. Companies, properties, hotels, all mine by blood and by law. At first, I could not breathe. The weight of it crushed me, the years of silence, of pain, of exile. But then came the trials, the courts, the endless battles of forged documents and false claims. They said I was nothing, a fraud, a servant pretending to be an heir. But the evidence grew, and at last, the truth shone through. A recording, hidden for years, revealed the plot, the conspirators scheming to steal my inheritance, their voices damning them beyond defense. The judge struck his gavel, and justice was done. They were sentenced to years in prison, their empire crumbling as mine was restored. I did not celebrate with pride. No, I celebrated with love. For beside me stood a woman who had seen me not as a cook, not as a servant, but as a man worth defending. In the presence of her father, I took her hand, my voice trembling as I asked the question my heart had long carried. Will you marry me? Her eyes filled with tears, and with a smile that lit the world, she whispered, yes. And so, the boy who once scrubbed floors, who once hid behind storybooks in a servant's room, became the man who owned the greatest company in Korea. Not by greed, not by cruelty, but by truth, and by love. Even her elder sister, who once despised me, came to me in shame. Forgive me, she whispered, and I did. For what is an empire without peace? Now I stand not as the lonely cook, not as the orphan boy, but as a husband, a master of empires, and a keeper of love. When I married her, my heart felt whole for the first time in years. She was not only my wife, she was my savior, the light that led me out of darkness. Every morning, I woke to the sound of her laughter in the kitchen, her hands preparing food, even though we had chefs who could serve us anything we wanted. She said she loved to cook with me, to remember those days when I wore the apron, when love bloomed in secret. We were happy,
Beautiful.
truly
I know,
happy.
It is absolutely
And yet,
perfect.
happiness attracts envy, like flame attracts moth. Her elder sister, the one who once despised me, her heart grew restless. She had asked my forgiveness, yes. She had bowed her head, yes. But forgiveness does not erase the poison of jealousy. Every time she looked at us, she saw what she could never have. She saw the love her sister held, the wealth now mine, the joy that shone in my eyes. At first, she hid it well. She smiled at dinners, laughed at gatherings, acted the dutiful aunt to our newborn child. But beneath the surface, a storm brewed. She began to dress more boldly, to linger longer when she spoke to me, to find excuses to enter my office late at night. Her eyes said what her lips dared not. I ignored it. I thought it would fade. But love twisted into envy, and envy into obsession. One night, she came to me in tears. Do you not see me? She asked, her voice trembling. Do you not see that I love you too? My heart sank. I looked her in the eyes, firm and steady. No, I told her. What you feel is not love. It is jealousy. I belong to your sister, and to her alone. She wept, but her tears did not cleanse her heart. Instead, she grew bitter. She began to whisper lies to others that I was unfaithful, that I only married for position, that I was not truly worthy of the empire I now led. My wife stood by me, strong and unshaken, but I saw the pain in her eyes. And so, I decided to test them both, to see where truth lay and where lies would crumble. One morning, I did not rise from bed. I called the doctor, and with his help, I pretended to be paralyzed. I sat in a wheelchair, my legs wrapped in blankets, my hands trembling as though weak. To the world, I was no longer the powerful heir, no longer the strong man who once turned numbers into gold. I was broken. How quickly the masks fell. The elder sister, who once circled me like a hawk, vanished. She visited less and less, until at last she did not come at all. My weakness disgusted her. My wheelchair made me invisible. But my wife, my beautiful wife, she stayed. She fed me with her own hands, even when servants stood ready. She wiped my brow, combed my hair, read to me from the very storybook that once kept me company in those lonely years. At night, when I wept in secret tears, not of pain but of gratitude, she kissed them away. Day by day, her love grew stronger, brighter, deeper. She did not see a cripple. She saw her husband. She saw the boy who once hid behind the apron and storybooks, the man she chose against the world's will. At last, I rose from the chair. I stood before her, strong and whole. She gasped, her eyes wide, tears spilling freely. You can walk, she whispered. Yes, I told her, and now I know who truly loves me. Her arms wrapped around me, and in that embrace, I felt the truth. Love is not proved in wealth, nor in health, but in the shadows where all else fades. The elder sister, ashamed, left us at last. She admitted her folly, but I did not hate her. I pitied her. She had fought against love itself and lost. And so our story continued not as cook and mistress, not as servant and master, but as husband and wife, bound by a love that endured trials, betrayal, and falsehood. Together, we built not just an empire of wealth, but an empire of trust, compassion, and loyalty. Even now, when I sit with my wife beneath the stars, I tell her, all that I own could vanish tomorrow, but if you remain, I am still the richest man alive. Thanks for watching till the end. Please encourage me by hitting that subscription button, like, share, and comment for more interesting romantic Korea video. Aka Movies present Love Beyond the Wheelchair, episodes 4 to 7. I thought her eyes would change when she saw me in the wheelchair. I thought pity or discomfort would cloud them. But no, So Hye-jin's gaze stayed steady, like she had been waiting for this truth all along. I laughed awkwardly, trying to push the silence away. I guess I'm not what you imagined, I said, my voice trembling. She smiled softly. Maybe not, but you're exactly who I was hoping to meet. Her words cut through me, deeper than any wound. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. I had hidden my truth behind a screen, afraid she would run. Now she sat across from me, speaking as if the chair didn't exist. But how long could I keep this secret? After the surgery in India, my legs had begun to heal, slowly, painfully, but they were not gone forever. I looked down at my hands gripping the wheels. I could walk if I wanted to, but I couldn't tell her yet. I wanted to know, would she still love me if this chair was permanent? The next day, she found me in the park. She insisted on pushing my wheelchair even though I protested. Let me, she said, smiling like the sun, her hair blowing in the soft breeze. It feels nice to take care of someone who matters. Her words filled the empty places inside me. But they also carved guilt into my heart. Because every day I stayed silent, the weight of my secret grew heavier. As the autumn leaves fell around us, I thought, if she finds out the truth, will she forgive me? I used to believe love ended the moment my fiancé walked away. She left without looking back, without a word of comfort. The day the doctor said I might never walk again, she chose her freedom over my broken body. I thought I had hardened since then. But sitting beside Hye-jin in the cafe, listening to her laughter over a simple cup of tea, I realized how much I still feared being abandoned. One evening, she noticed the scar along my leg as she helped adjust my blanket. Her fingers traced it gently. Does it hurt? She asked softly. I froze. No one had touched me there in years. Not anymore, I lied, my throat tight. The truth? The scars were more than skin. They carried memories of metal, fire, and the screams. They carried the sound of my father's voice cracking as he told me my fiancé was gone. Hye-jin tilted her head, her eyes searching mine. You don't have to hide your pain, she whispered. Not from me. Her words made me want to cry, but I bit down the tears. How could I tell her that I was hiding more than pain? That the chair she believed defined me was only half the truth? That night, when she left, I stood in my room. My legs shook, but they held me. I wanted to walk to her. I wanted to show her. But then I remember her smile, her kindness, and the fear gripped me again. If she loved me only because she thought I couldn't walk, then what will happen when she learned I could? The past whispered in my ear. People always leave when they see the truth. She invited me to her home for the first time. A small, modest apartment filled with warmth, a vase of flowers on the window, books stacked on the table, the scent of fresh rice and soup. I sat in my wheelchair by the kitchen counter while she cooked. The clatter of pots and the rhythm of her movements filled the silence I once feared. When she brought the food over, she insisted on feeding me. I protested, embarrassed. I can eat by myself, Hye-jin, I said. She smiled gently, holding the spoon near my lips. Maybe, but tonight, let me take care of you. I hesitated, then accepted. With each bite, my chest grew heavier. No one had cared for me like this in years. Her hands trembled a little, but her eyes never wavered. I looked at her and whispered, Heijin, please go. You deserve something better. Her expression tightened, but she didn't look away. What I deserve, she said firmly, is to be here with you. Those words shattered the walls I had built. She wasn't loving me despite the chair. She was loving me because she saw me, all of me broken, wounded, and still human. That night, as she washed the dishes, I watched her from the doorway of my silence. And for the first time, I began to wonder, maybe love hadn't abandoned me after all. Yet the more she cared, the more afraid I became. Each smile, each touch made me love her more, but also reminded me of the secret between us. One evening, as she pushed me through the park, a man passed by and whispered cruelly, "What a waste!" I froze, my fist tightening on the wheels. I wanted to stand, to prove him wrong, but I stayed seated, my pride burning. Heijin stopped and turned to the man, her voice steady but fierce. He's not a waste. He's worth more than you could ever understand. The man walked away, and I sat in stunned silence. No one had defended me like that since before the accident. I looked up at her. She smiled gently, brushing her hair behind her ear. Don't listen to people like that, she said softly. You are enough, Taehyung. But as her words settled in, doubt gnawed at me. Will she still believe I was enough if she knew I could stand? If she realized I had been hiding the truth? Her kindness was a light, but shadows always follow the light. And in my heart, doubt whispered louder than love. Thanks for watching till the end. Please encourage me to bring you another interesting Korean romantic love story by clicking on that notification button. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Aka Movies. The night sky over Seoul shimmered with city lights as Chairman Kang waited anxiously for his only son. Han Ji-hoon had returned from the United States after many years of study. The father embraced him with pride, yet with a heavy heart. He said softly, "My son, before you inherit this empire, you must learn what it means to work at the bottom. Only then will you know who is loyal and who is false." Ji-hoon nodded, understanding. From that day, he began his disguise as a humble gateman of the company his father built. Every morning, his father would drop him near the gates, and Ji-hoon would walk in wearing an old, faded uniform. No one knew his true identity. To them, he was nothing more than the new gatekeeper, silent and unimportant. Among the many workers, there was one who caught his attention, Yoon Da-eun, a young cleaner with gentle eyes and a soft smile. She arrived early every day, never late, never complaining. While others ignored her, Ji-hoon saw her sincerity. She cleaned with care, worked with dignity, and carried herself with quiet strength. Ji-hoon began to admire her from afar. He noticed how she bowed politely to him, the lowly gateman, when others walked past without a glance. One rainy evening, he saw her struggling with a broken umbrella. Without hesitation, he shared his own, walking her home under the cold drizzle. That night, something stirred within him. But inside the company, darkness lingered. Manager Park, the man who controlled the offices, was corrupt and cruel. He embezzled funds, sold company oil in secret, and silenced anyone who dared to question him. Worst of all, he preyed on cleaners, chasing them away one by one. When he set his eyes on Da-eun, Ji-hoon's blood boiled. Each time Manager Park tried to corner her, Ji-hoon stepped in, protecting her with quiet defiance. The manager began to hate this strange gateman, who was not afraid of him. At night, Ji-hoon returned home and reported everything to his father. Some men are honest, father, but many are thieves in the shadows. The chairman listened carefully, knowing his son was gathering truth with his own eyes. Days turned into weeks. Ji-hoon and Da-eun grew closer. They shared quiet talks by the company garden. He carried her heavy supplies. She told him her dreams. One evening she said, "Even if no one noticed me, I will still work with sincerity. It is who I am." Ji-hoon's heart trembled. For the first time, he longed not only to protect her, but to love her. Yet the storms grew heavier. Manager Park plotted to destroy them both. He framed Da-eun for theft, planting false evidence against her. Whispers spread through the office, and she was nearly fired. But the old gate master, Mr. Choi, stood tall. With a firm voice, he declared, "If this company had more workers like her, it would shine brighter than gold." His words saved her, but the battle was far from over. One evening, as Ji-hoon walked Da-eun home, she looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Why do you fight for me when you are only a gatekeeper?" she asked. Ji-hoon swallowed his secret. He could not yet tell her who he was. But in that moment, she whispered, "Even if you have nothing, I feel something in my heart when I am with you." Their hands touched, and the quiet spark of love ignited. The day of truth finally arrived. The chairman called for a grand meeting. "My son returns from America today," he announced. "From tomorrow, he will take over this company." The managers and workers gathered with excitement. Manager Park smirked, dreaming of new opportunities to manipulate the young heir. Then the doors opened. Ji-hoon walked in, still wearing the uniform of a gateman. Laughter erupted. "Chairman," Manager Park scoffed, "is this a joke? Your son's not here. This is just a gatekeeper." But the chairman smiled. "This," he said, "is my son, Han Ji-hoon." The hall fell silent. Ji-hoon stood tall, removing his cap, revealing the sharp gaze of a leader. His voice echoed through the room. "For months, I have stood among you. I have seen who is loyal, and I have seen who is corrupt. Manager Park, you and your allies have stolen, lied, and betrayed this company." Gasps filled the air as Ji-hoon laid down the evidence he had gathered. Security entered. Manager Park and his accomplices were dragged away, shouting in vain. Justice had come at last. Ji-hoon turned to Mr. Choi, the old gate master. With gratitude in his eyes, he said, "You have been my teacher in silence. From today, you are my right hand." The hall applauded. But there was one more step. Ji-hoon searched the crowd until his eyes found Da-eun. She stood frozen, tears streaming down her cheeks. Slowly, he walked to her. Taking her trembling hands, he said, "You loved me when I was nothing. Now I wish to love you as everything. Da-eun, will you marry me?" Her sob turned into a smile, and she nodded. The workers cheered, the chairman clapped proudly, and for the first time, Ji-hoon felt the weight of love and responsibility in his heart. The story closed with their wedding, simple yet beautiful. Ji-hoon and Da-eun walked through the company gates hand in hand, no longer gateman and cleaner, but husband and wife, CEO and his queen. Behind them, the world whispered of betrayal, loyalty, and redemption. But ahead, they walked together into a future built not on wealth, but on love. And so, behind the gates where he once stood forgotten, Han Ji-hoon found not just his destiny, but his heart. Thanks for watching till the end. Subscribe for more Aka Movies Korean romantic love stories. Goodbye. My name is Yoon Tae-yuan, and this is a story of how I found love. Not in the way most people dream of, not with flowers, chance meetings, or stolen glances, but through a screen, in the quiet hours of the night. She was just a stranger at first, a young woman who worked endlessly, cleaning offices where no one even remembered her name. Yet every night, she would type to me. She would tell me about her day, about the things that broke her, the little moments that made her laugh, and without knowing it, she began to heal me. What she didn't know was that I couldn't walk. Years ago, a car accident had taken that away from me. I was left in this chair, watching the world move on without me. People I trusted left. The woman I thought would stand by me forever walked away. And in that silence, I built walls around my heart. But then came her. Every night, her words reached me like light through cracks in a locked door. She made me laugh again, She made me forget that I was broken. To her, I wasn't a man in a wheelchair. I wasn't a failure or a burden.
Hi, Hee-jin.
I was just me.
I hope your day was as
And for the
beautiful
first
as
time
you
in
are.
years, I felt alive. She doesn't know who I
Hi,
really
Hee-jin.
am. The heir to a fortune. The man who once stood tall but now hides behind lies and silence. She doesn't know any of that. But
He understands
she listens. She cares. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. If only she knew how much she already means to me.
Previously on Love Beyond the Wheelchair, Episode 1.
Years ago, a car accident had taken that away from me. I was left in this chair, watching the world move on without me. People I trusted left. The woman I thought would stand by me forever walked away. And in that silence, I built walls around my heart. But then came her. Every night, her words reached me like light through cracks in a locked door. She made me laugh again. She made me forget that I was broken. To her, I wasn't a man in a wheelchair. I wasn't a failure or a burden.
Hi, Hee-jin.
I was just me.
I hope your day was as
And for the
beautiful
first
as
time
you
in
are.
years, I felt alive. The night that changed everything is a memory I can never escape. One moment, I was behind the wheel, the city lights stretching endlessly before me. The next, all I saw was broken glass, twisted metal, and the sound of my own heart pounding against the silence. When I opened my eyes again, I was no longer the man I used to be. The doctors tried, God knows they tried, surgery after surgery, endless tests, endless hope. But in the end, their words cut deeper than any wound. You may never walk again. I remember staring at the ceiling that night, realizing that the life I knew had ended on that road. She was there with me at first, my fiancée, the woman I thought I would spend forever with. She held my hand, she whispered promises, but I could see it in her eyes, the fear, the disappointment. And the day she walked away from me, heels clicking against the hospital floor, it felt like the last part of my soul broke. She didn't even look back. And then, as if fate wanted to remind me of everything I had lost, my sister stepped into the world I once belonged to. The company my father built my inheritance, my duties slipped quietly into her hands while I sat there in a chair that had become my prison. Ji-hoon was strong, capable, and the world applauded her. And me, I was just forgotten. Every night, I told myself I didn't need anyone. That love was just a word people used to make loneliness hurt less. Sitting there in the dark, I whispered to myself, love doesn't exist, not for me. And I believed it.
She left me.
Previously on Love Beyond the Wheelchair, Episode 2. Was there with me at first, my fiancée, the woman I thought I would spend forever with. She held my hand, she whispered promises, but I could see it in her eyes, the fear, the disappointment. And the day she walked away from me, heels clicking against the hospital floor, it felt like the last part of my soul broke. She didn't even look back. And then, as if fate wanted to remind me of everything I had lost, my sister stepped into the world I once belonged to. The company my father built my inheritance, my duties slipped quietly into her hands while I sat there in a chair that had become my prison. Ji-hoon was strong, capable, and the world applauded her. And me, I was just forgotten. Every night, I told myself I didn't need anyone. That love was just a word people used to make loneliness hurt less. Sitting there in the dark, I whispered to myself, love doesn't exist, not for me. And I believed it. For weeks, we had only been words on the screen, laughter typed into late-night messages, comfort sent through glowing text. But I wanted more. I wanted to see her, to know if the warmth I felt was real. So, with a nervous heart, I asked Seo-hae-jin if we could meet for the very first time. She agreed. The place was Seoul Forest, at a small cafe tucked away near the quiet trees. The night before, I couldn't sleep. I wondered, what if she turns away when she sees a wheelchair? What if she sees only what I've lost? That morning, I arrived early, Sitting quietly in my chair by the cafe window, I watched the world move freely around me, people walking without thought, and I braced myself for disappointment. Then she came, So Hye-jin with her soft, wavy, brown hair gently brushing against her shoulders,
Where is
her
he?
warm, fair skin glowing in the afternoon light, her almond-shaped eyes searching the crowd nervously. She looked beautiful and fragile,
he?
as if the world had already asked too much from her. And then her eyes found me. For a heartbeat, the world fell silent. She froze, staring at the man in the wheelchair, the man who had been nothing but words on her phone.
Chair?
I saw the shock in her face, and in that instant, I wondered if my story would break once again.
Don't turn away.
Would she walk away, or would she stay? Aka Movies present Love Under the Apron, Episode 4, The Test of Truth. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment for more Korean love story. The morning light spilled into the restaurant kitchen, but tension lingered in the air. Soo-jin, the beautiful young Korean woman with porcelain skin, long silky black hair tied neatly, and expressive brown eyes, stood quietly by the sink, her hands trembling as she washed the vegetables. She could still
long can I
feel
hide
the
this?
weight of the secret she was carrying, the stolen recipe that wasn't hers. Across the counter, Ji-hoon, the hard-working young Korean chef with tousled black hair, warm but guarded eyes, and his white apron stained from endless work, watched her in silence. He had noticed the unease in her eyes for days now, but today, he couldn't look away. Soo-jin, he finally said,
Soo-jin?
his voice deep
What are you hiding
but
from
soft.
me?
What are you hiding from me? Her hands froze in the water. The clattering of dishes echoed louder than her heartbeat. Soo, Jin's porcelain face flushed with guilt, her lips trembling, yet no words came out. Just then, the door creaked open. Mrs. Park Sumi, the stern middle-aged Korean woman with sharp eyes and neatly tied bun, her floral blouse tucked firmly into her apron, stepped inside. She scanned the two of them, suspicion lingering in her gaze. Silence filled the kitchen, heavy and suffocating. Later that night, as the restaurant quieted down, Ji-hoon found Soo-jin sitting alone at the corner table, her long black hair falling loosely around her pale shoulders, her expressive eyes brimming with tears. He walked closer, pulling out the chair beside her. "Tell me the truth, Soo-jin," he whispered. "I can take anything, but not your silence." Soo-jin lifted her porcelain face to him, her lips trembling as she finally confessed. The recipe she had claimed as her own, the one that had brought her close to him, had belonged to someone else. Shame burned in her chest, but she couldn't lie to him anymore. Ji, whose sharp jaw tightened, his warm eyes darkening with hurt. For a moment, silence fell again, but then he reached for her trembling hands, holding them gently. "You should have told me," he said softly, "but I'd rather lose a recipe than lose you." A single tear slid down Soo-jin's porcelain cheek, and for the first time in days, her lips curved into a fragile smile. But outside the kitchen door, Mrs. Park Sumi's sharp eyes lingered in the shadows, her expression unreadable. Because sometimes, truth was only the beginning of a bigger storm.
My name is Ji-hoon.
As long as I'm
I was
here,
only
nothing
6
will
years
hurt you.
old when my life was destroyed.
Don't worry,
My
Ji.
mother,
As long
my
as
gentle,
I'm here, nothing
loving
will hurt
mother, was taken from me first, shot by a masked man who worked for someone she trusted at her
Ji-hoon.
company.
Forgive me.
She was trying to reveal the truth to my father,
Tonight it
a
ends.
soldier,
No, please, my
but
husband.
they silenced her forever. I remember the night my father told
But I'm
me she
here.
was gone.
I will
His eyes were heavy.
Don't leave me too, Daddy.
His arms held me
Mommy's gone,
close,
Ji-hoon.
but his
I'm
duty always kept him
I
away.
will protect you.
Don't leave me too,
I was
Daddy.
lonely, but he
Mommy's
was all
gone,
I
Ji-hoon.
had.
But I'm here.
One day, while he was finally home on leave,
Daddy, you can't catch
we were
me.
together laughing,
Faster, Ji-hoon,
eating,
faster!
just
I
father
wish you could stay
and
like
daughter.
this forever.
But then the door burst open. A man in a black mask entered. His gun was cold, his aim steady, and in 1 second, my father fell to the floor. Blood everywhere. I screamed, shaking his body, begging him to wake up. The masked assassin looked at me, and for a moment, he pulled off his mask. That face I will never forget. That day, my heart turned to fire. That day, vengeance was born inside me. I grew up with one purpose:
This uniform is not just my
to
duty.
avenge my parents.
It's my promise.
At 20, I joined the army. I trained hard,
How long can I hide this?
fought harder. But in all my years of service, I never found the man who murdered
How long can I
my
hide
father.
this?
Still, his face haunted me every night.
How long can
Until
I hide
one
this?
day, fate spoke. I overheard a soldier making a call, whispering
Move the others now,
warnings
they know
to
where you are.
militants. I followed the sound, hid in the shadows, and
Move
pressed
the others now, they
record.
know where you are.
His words were betrayal, words that sold out our army for blood money. When I listened back,
Move the others
my
now, they know where
heart
you are.
stopped. His voice, it was him, the man who killed my father.
Move the others now, they know where you are.
That night, I broke into his apartment,
He gave
my
the
gun
order.
in my hand,
Now the war
my
begins.
rage in my heart. When he saw me, I saw
the chief
fear
of
in
staff.
his eyes.
He gave the order.
I pressed my barrel
Now the
to
war
his
begins.
forehead, the same way he killed my father.
It was the
He
chief of
confessed
staff.
everything, every
gave the
dirty
order.
secret.
Now the war
He
begins.
said it was the chief of staff who ordered the hit
It was the chief of staff.
because my father refused to join their corrupt
Now the war
mission.
begins.
I had my recorder on and a hidden camera. Finally, I had proof, but they discovered me. The chief of staff marked me for death. Soldiers who once called me sister hunted me down like an animal. They spread lies, accused me of being with militants. My face was on wanted posters.
How long can
I had no choice but to fight back. Every ambush, every bullet, every soldier they sent, I survived. I killed only to stay alive and to keep my mission burning. One night, I stood in the chief of staff's office. My gun inches from his head. Justice was finally in my hands, but soldiers stormed in before I could pull the trigger. I was arrested, thrown into a military court, branded as a traitor. They were ready to end me, but then I played the disc. The truth exploded in that courtroom. Their corruption, their betrayal, their bloodied secrets. The chief of staff was stripped of his rank, dragged out, and executed by the very system he corrupted. I walked out of that prison cell free, but not whole. I avenged my father, I avenged my mother, but vengeance leaves scars. I am Ji-hoon, the daughter of a soldier and a woman who dared to tell the truth. My family's blood will never be forgotten, and neither will my fight. This is my story.